So being match fit for 2021. A couple of things for us to think about. The changes that have gone on. So to remind you about change theory, and also something called the wellness wheel that I touched on in the session that I did this morning. We're going to look at that in a little bit more detail in this session, and then 6 particular things that you guys can do to just ensure that you kind of match fit for the year, if that makes sense. People are feeling a little bit compassion fatigue is probably the best way of saying it. And I know I did a session on that a good few weeks ago now. But people are kind of getting to the end of this stint with COVID, aren't they? And they're kind of going, do you know what? We just need out. We just need out now. Everything needs to start going back to normal. We need to be able to do what we need to do. And it is coming. It is coming slowly but surely, I think. But there's a lot of people that kind of came into 2021 ready, match fit, and then of course the day after, the second day of the business year, as it were, we went into a national lockdown again, didn't we? And we still are currently in it. So it is about being match fit. It's also about having some realization of where we can be fitter for different things and do a little bit of a diagnostic. So this morning, if you didn't join us, we did a session on 20 ways to help other people and the benefits of that. So we did 10 scientific benefits of why it's helpful to help other people, and where we could help other people, where we might need some help, and then 20 different ways of where we could help other people. So part of that was something called this wellness wheel, and it's a little diagnostic that we do to make sure that we are match fit, if you like. We are, working on the areas that we need to work on in order to have more stamina, in order to be more resilient, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Now, we've just finished 3 sessions on resilience. If you were party to them, we did resilience part 1, 2 and 3 over the last 3 weeks. And I mentioned this wellness wheel, so I've brought it in for you to think about today. And it is for you to think about during this session as well. So this is something that you could actually go and do, and I want to get you started on it during this session, because it means if you start it during this session, you're not likely to finish this session and then look at your 400 emails and forget all about what we've said. So that's kind of, I kind of want you to work with me today on this, if that's okay, and then we can go from there. So being match fit, as you guys know, last March, when lockdown happened, most of us went into a survival mindset at that point. And I'm not just talking about businesses now, I'm talking about people in general. We went into a survival mindset during lockdown. How do we get through the week? How do we get through the month? How do we get through the year? And so on and so on and so on. We then started coming out of lockdown and started to reset. We started to reset and go, okay, how are we going to do things differently, permanently or semi-permanently, with the idea to get to a point of excelling. So survival mode, short-termism, reset mode, thinking about the longer term again, doing things in a different way going forward in order for us to excel moving forward. Unfortunately, a lot of us didn't get to this excel phase. Why? Because in the middle of resetting, we were put into another lockdown. Okay, and then again, we started to survive and we started to come out and reset, and then finally, we were put in, well, I say finally, I've got my fingers crossed it's finally, but we got put into another lockdown at the beginning of the year, which was probably the biggest wallop for people. It was probably the biggest whack round the head of all of this, because I think a lot of people thought 2020 is out the way, 2021 is going to be better, and then of course we were put into another national lockdown when we came in. So we have been bouncing about between these 2 things for the last 12 months. Okay, bouncing about between these 2 things for the last 12 months. So there will be a time, kind of putting my money on it, where we need to do this in 2021. Okay, we need to get to this Excel point. And I think there's a lot of people going into reset already. I know we're not out of lockdown yet. I know there will be a roadmap published next week, but there's a lot of people kind of going, okay, how do we do things differently now going forward? If we have to social distance for another 12 months, if we have to do this, if we have to do that, if we have to work remotely for longer, all of this type of stuff is now being looked at kind of semi-permanently going forward, which is why obviously the hospitality industry are getting very stressed about this, because obviously social distancing in a hospitality venue is quite challenging. But certainly from a business point of view, we're having to go, okay, you know, we at Solution Focus, we've definitely noticed this. In the last 4 weeks, we have noticed in the first 2 weeks of January, nothing. In the last 4 weeks, we are getting people contacting us, basically saying they can't keep waiting. They can't keep waiting for a face-to-face classroom environment to be okay. They can't keep waiting for development. They can't keep waiting for people to support their employees and so on and so on and so on. So how can we just do this differently anyway going forward? And so we've noticed there's been a massive upsurge in questions and you know, inquiries coming into us that's the case. Okay. So at some point, hopefully, as you know, Mr. Johnson says, we want a, you know, slow release of rules that are irreversible. So we don't have to go through all of this yet again, because this is the problem. And remember why? It's because of the change. So we need to make sure that we are going to be match fit when the time is right to be able to excel in whatever the new world looks like. Okay? This is kind of where we need to be in this phase, moving into this phase. Now, you guys know that people don't like change. This is something that we've covered a number of times before. We don't like change because it knocks us out of balance, or lack of gestalt is the term, and we don't like change because there's a perceived loss of control taken away from us, and we don't particularly like that. I know you guys have seen this before, but when you're going to be match fit, it's really important to remember where you are in this transition curve. So by now, guys, and if there's anybody brand new that hasn't seen this before, just jump onto the YouTube channel, and there's loads of stuff on this. You've got time along the bottom that the change takes. Bearing in mind, people are in curve 3 for 3 lockdowns, and to be honest, some people are in curve 300 in what's gone on in the last 12 months. But and then you've got energy and productivity here. So we know that change occurs and we go into shock, our productivity drops. Okay, so again, that's what happened 5th of January. Coming into the new year, thank God got all that out the way. 2020 was a nightmare, 2021 is going to be better. 5th of January, national lockdown, shock. Okay, people then started to go into denial again about the shock. They'd go into denial about it, going, it won't be as bad as last time, the vaccines are going to make it quicker, all this type of stuff. But then the realization that this was going to be at least for a few months started to take hold, people started to feel whacked around the head again. You know, I'm talking to even upbeat, positive people at the moment, and they're kind of going, do you know what, enough's enough, John. Enough's enough, I've had enough. Yeah, that tells you this is happening on a regular basis for people. You might feel angry, frustrated, you might feel fed up, sad, annoyed, whatever it may be, okay? But we're on this downward, because a lot of people on this downward curve. And then we get to the point of the rut, and we start to self-sabotage, or we start to sabotage other people. So we start to beat ourselves up, and we say things like, this is a nightmare, I can't believe it, I'm sick of this going on, I've just had enough, I'm fed up with it all. You know, or we start saying that to other people, and we start to sabotage other people's thinking at the same time. However, if you remember, it is the point of realization. So, at the point of realization, you are able to realize that you are in this rut. And there's a lot of people that kind of know they're in the rut, but aren't ready to do something about it yet. And there's a few people that have got out the rut, and there's other people that are still on the downward curve here. You know, I am trying to get up this curve, but I have several people that can't work for me at the moment, because obviously their children are off school and this and that and so on and so on and so on. It's very, very frustrating with it, and the fact that you can't see my family and and so on. It's getting really, really annoyed, albeit I know logically there is very, very valid reasons why. I understand all the logic, but it's the emotion that's getting kind of caught up in things when it's here, okay? And what we have to start to do, if you remember, is we start to explore the new ways of doing things. We start to explore the new ways of the world. So, when restrictions start to kind of come off, how's that going to be? What's that going to look like? And this is why everybody is waiting on the announcement next week, because nobody has a picture of that. Nobody really knows what it's going to be. In fact, Boris Johnson last night on the Daily Update actually said to a question that was asked, we haven't decided any of these things yet. So all this stuff that you think you're hearing, take it with a pinch of salt, because nothing's been decided yet. And when it has been, you'll hear it from me. But there's still a lot of people out there making things up, saying, oh, do you know, I've heard this, and Sky News says that, and BBC News says this, and this is what we've heard off the record from a Member of Parliament, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, okay? So, the exploration phase is to find the new ways of doing things. Now, this is a phase we are going to go through this year if we start to come out of lockdown, schools reopen, businesses start to reopen. We're going to have to basically sit in this phase for a while until we have got the new ways of the world permanently, the permanent new ways of the world, okay, going forward. Again, another company came out yesterday, Spotify have said they're not going to bring their staff back into offices when COVID is finished. They're going to be a remote business running forward. So there is lots of change going on for people, and there's going to be a lot of exploration. And the reason why I'm harping on about this point is because, remember, in exploration you can go up or down. So we've really got to do this exploration. What's the world going to look like in 6 months? Yeah, what have we adapted? Will there be some face-to-face stuff again? Are we going to be still more online? Are you going to get everybody back in the office, or do there still need to be a 2 meter distance, and so on and so on? And so, can you see your family? Is it safe to see them when you've had a vaccine? Is it not safe to see them quite when you've had, and so on and so on and so on and so on, okay? So there's going to be a lot of this going on, but ultimately, to be match fit, we need to be able to deal with this and get to the point of acceptance and deal with it as we go. And that can be quite challenging, because remember, that slope it's like when you're moving up that slope, it's like you're climbing a mountain. When you come back down it, it's like a slide. So climbing up a mountain's quite hard. Abseiling down one's a lot easier. Yeah, so if you fall down here, it could take you twice as long to get back up again with your pickaxe and everything else that you've got to get back out to do it, okay? So just bear that in mind, guys. We're all going through lots of change still. Lots of people are still going through it. We're going to be in this exploration phase once we get out of the rut, and some people are still stuck in the rut at the moment. We're going to be in this exploration phase for a while this year. For a while. And it's okay that we don't just jump to this, but we need to make sure that we are match fit in order to keep climbing the mountain. Because if you're not, well, if you haven't got a pickaxe, if you haven't got a climbing pick in your little bag, it's going to be twice as hard to climb it. So you need to be, in other words, you need the tools to be able to be match fit, okay? We know that we really need a plan in place, okay? We need a physical plan for ourselves, and we also need a mental plan in place, okay? If we have these two things, what we do is we create a new psychological contract with the world. So this is going to fit into the wellness wheel that I'm going to talk to you about in a moment, okay? So, physical plan. That's not just exercise. That's a plan how you are physically going to deal with the next 9 months, let's say, for argument's sake, okay? The rest of this year, yeah? How are you going to, or 10 months, whatever it is. How are you going, what's your physical plan to keep you exercised, lots of endorphins in your system, feel fit, feel healthy, feel awake, and have energy. So what's your physical plan? So again, I'll come on to that with the wellness wheel in a moment, okay? But also, what's your mental plan? What's your mental plan to keep you mentally fit? What's your mental plan to calm your mind, to rest it? What's your mental plan to keep it engaged, your mind, and so on, and so on, and so on, okay? So just have a think about that for a moment, okay? So physical plan in the wellness wheel will fit into physical exercise. Mental plan is covered off by something called spiritual in the wellness wheel, okay? Spiritual can be biblical, if you like, or your version of biblical, depending on what your beliefs are, or it can be mental. It can be your mental well-being. Spiritual can mean your mental well-being, okay? So we need 2 plans. And if there's anything that you're going to do after this session today, I would urge you to start thinking about these 2 plans. Now you might be thinking, I don't even know where to start. That's why we're going to cover off the wellness wheel, okay? So we've got a new normal that is now here. I think this is the new normal, isn't it? Because we had a new normal after the first lockdown. So, but you know where I'm coming from with it, okay? How can you be match fit to take advantage of the rest of the year when people are feeling maybe on that downward slide again on the change curve, or maybe in that rut because of the compassion fatigue, because of the 12 months of lockdown, because kids are now aren't at school, and so on and so on and so on, okay? So we want to excel. That's what we want to do this year, okay? We want to have the right thinking and behavior, okay? We want to have the right targets and motivation. We want to be able to generate ideas and make a plan. We want to be able to action those ideas, those priorities, and measure them. And we also want to take responsibility for things, okay? Which we're going to come back to in a moment. So this, if you haven't recognized it, this is the Solution Focused Success System, okay? And I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we've done the wellness wheel. But in order to be successful, we need these areas have to be covered, okay? It comes from some research that I did many years ago into what makes successful people successful. And these elements here are all of the key elements that we need in order to be successful, to excel, if you like, going forward, okay? Before we do that, we need to do a diagnostic. Before you can write a plan on what you're going to do, we need to do a diagnostic on what we need to work on, okay? So this is called the wellness wheel. If you were on this morning's session, then obviously you've just recognized it. There's only a handful, maybe a couple of people, I think, that were on this morning's session, just looking at the numbers. If you've not come across this before, if you Google wellness wheel and go to images in Google, you will find this model, okay? And there are 8 sections to this model, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sections. The first section, let's start here in no particular order, okay? And I'm going to urge you to do this while I go through this. So, grab a piece of paper and a pen. So just grab a piece of paper and a pen that you've got handy, okay? And when we talk about each section, I just want you to write it down, okay? Just write each section down so you've got a list of these sections, okay? And then I'll come back to it in a moment, okay? So, we'll start with physical fitness. So if you've got a pen and paper, just write physical fitness down, okay? Physical fitness. How physically fit are you? It's a rhetorical question, obviously. But the question here is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is your physical fitness? Now, 1 is it's awful, it's not good. 10 is it's the best it can be. All right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, and it'll be your scale, I'm just giving you a parameter for 1 and 10. 1, don't do anything. 10, it's the best it can be. On a scale of 1 to 10, give yourself a number. Okay, give yourself a number. So mark yourself currently for your physical fitness levels. Okay, just mark yourself. So what you've done so far is you've written down physical fitness and you've put a number next to it, a number out of 10 next to it. Okay, 1 being doesn't happen, 10 being it's the best it can be. Just give yourself a number between 1 and 10. Okay, and do me a favour, then just go to the chat box on today's session. Just go to the chat box and just type your number in for me, if you don't mind. If you don't mind sharing, just type your number in. What was your number on a scale of 1 to 10? Yeah? So my number for this, I think, is about 5 at the moment. There you go. So Tessa said 6. Anybody else out there want to share their number on a scale of 1 to 10? What is your number? 1 being, there we go, we've got a few more. Christine, Cherish said 5. Marie, 9. Oh, right, Marina, I'm going to need to come and speak with you. Mark Wells, 9. Fantastic. Maybe you can give me some tips. So, guys, if you can see people with high numbers, maybe ask them what they're doing. Yeah, maybe buddy up with them and see what's what on the end of it. But mine's about a 5 at the moment. It's not good. It's not great. I was building a workshop in my garden up until about 2 months ago. So lots of physical work, and then I've completed it, and I haven't really done anything since. So I've decided to start running, but that starts to come back to the plan. So we'll come back to that in a moment. So physical fitness. Then we go, oh, we've got one. Mark said I run 3 fitness classes per week is that in teams? In CNI. Oxford, anybody welcome. Fantastic, great, Mark. That's brilliant, that is, Mark. Brilliant. You'll have to send us the invite for that, Mark. You never know, I might be able to get on one of them. So if anybody else wants to do anything like that, there you go. Mark can give you a link for that. And Jim's put 5. So look, it's somewhere, isn't it? I'm glad there's some honest people, and then there's some people that are doing a lot about their fitness. Great. Okay. So you just mark yourself out of 10. It's a little bit of diagnostic. Mine's a 5 at the moment, so I need to do something about it. So I've decided I'm going to start running. I used to run years ago, so I'm going to start doing a run 2 or 3 times a week, just to start getting my physical fitness levels back to where I want them to be. Okay. Then sleep is the next one. So write sleep in there, and then on a scale of 1 to 10, how well you sleep. Very simple, very straightforward. 1, I don't get any sleep. 10, I sleep like a log. Okay, so again, write your number in and drop it in the chat box, just so we can get an eye on who does what. A lot of people don't always sleep particularly very well. So I think on mine for sleep it's a 4 or 5, something like that. I don't particularly sleep very well. I know there are some things I could do in order to sleep better. Okay, so there we've got a 4. So there's a bit of a contrast, isn't there, between Jim and Marina. We've got a 4. Jim's a 9 and Marina's a 4. So again, just give yourself a mark out of 10 for that, scale of 1 to 10. This is going somewhere. This will give you a diagnostic in the end, don't worry. Okay. Then we've got pleasant activities. Doing things that you enjoy doing. Now, this one may have been hit a little bit, obviously, with COVID over the last 12 months. So, write down pleasant activities or things I like doing, whatever it may be, stuff that you enjoy, yeah? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, give yourself a number. So, give yourself a number on the scale of 1 to 10. How good is this area of your life currently? Things that you enjoy doing. Okay, 1 being none, I'm not doing any of those things at the moment. 10 being absolute no problem, got it in the bag, doing them all the time. Okay, pleasant activities. And, you know, pleasant activities can be anything. For me, pleasant activity is playing golf. At the moment, that number is low because I'm not allowed to play golf. Yeah, pleasant activity, though, might be seeing my children. I'm still allowed to do that. Yeah, so Jim's put 8. Okay, guys, just go to the chat box. Let's get a few more different answers, if you can. Drop me some of your numbers in there. It'd be really interesting just to see, and for other people to see, what other numbers people have got. Pleasant activities. Okay, Scale of 1 to 10. No more numbers. I know there's a little bit of a lag. There we go. We've got another one. Thank you, Marina, again, for putting that number in. That's fine. Okay, so Marina's about a 5. So there might be some logistical reasons why that's happening and stuff at the moment as well. Okay, Jim's up at an 8. Okay, so he's doing lots of things in that area. Okay, brilliant. Then emotional well-being. So a lot of people think this is like pink and fluffy stuff. This is emotionally how you're feeling at the moment. 1 being it's absolutely dreadful, you know, verge of depression, all the way through to I'm as happy as I can be emotionally, which is number 10. This one may have also taken a hit. I think I'm about a 7 or an 8 on this, something like that. Okay, so again, write down emotional well-being, okay, and then give yourself a number, scale of 1 to 10. Okay, oh, Siri thinks I'm talking to her now for some reason. She's just Googling emotional well-being for me. Jim's up there with an 8 again, yeah? Guys, if there's anybody else that you don't mind sharing your number, I understand if you don't want to for this one, I get it. But if you do, it's good for other people to see as well. I'm about a 7 or an 8 at the moment with this one. I think I could be better, but a big part of my personality is social contact. And of course, that's limited currently. So I think that's probably knocking a little bit of me at the moment. So the question is, obviously the question of this is what can we do about these things? But keep going for now. Okay, keep going. Then you've got nutrition. Okay, so how well you, excuse me, he said how well you before he coughed. What do you put in your body? How well are you looking after yourself? How much water are you drinking? How well are you eating? How well are you looking after the things that you put in your body? What is your nutrition like? Again, write down nutrition, scale of 1 to 10. Okay, scale of 1 to 10. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, nutrition-wise, I can't remember what I put here actually. I'll have a quick look. Okay. Yeah, so I put a 4 for me. Jim's put 6. Thank you, Jim, for that. It's something that I could definitely do more of. I tend to kind of like, get very busy during the day and wing what I'm eating, and then feel rubbish later on in the evening, which is not very useful. So again, in order for you to excel, in order for you to be match fit for 2021, you need to make sure of what's your nutrition level. So as you can see here, what I'm doing, I'll come to relationships in a minute. I started with physical fitness. Is if you actually get this off Google, you can pinpoint what number, because these go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 little lines on here, okay? 1 being rubbish, 10 being brilliant. You can start to pinpoint where you are on this wellness wheel. So again, if you haven't got this, don't worry. Write down nutrition, and then give yourself a number between 1 and 10. How well you are at the moment with your current nutritional levels. Okay. Then we move on to your professional life. Okay. I've put about an 8.5 out of 10 for my professional life at the moment. I'm still having to, I can still speak to clients, I can still teach this kind of thing, I can do it via our studio. It's not a 10 because I would much rather be standing in front of people physically than doing this kind of thing. But it's not bad, it's not bad. That has definitely changed, that is, over the last 12 months. When we went into first lockdown, that would have been way down here. It's only over time in building the portfolio of doing this in a studio and so on that it's moved me up there. So it could well be that you're working from home. It could well be that you're in and out the office. It could well be that you're not having to sit in the same place as you sat last time. So again, marks out of 10, write down professional life. 1 being I am miserable. 10 being I'm happy, really happy. Give yourself a number. Thank you again, Jim, for putting your number down there, guys. And guys, feel free to put your numbers here. This is, if you start committing to these numbers, it gives you that diagnostic. When we're all finished with this, you will have a diagnostic of exactly where you can go and work on in these areas in order to help yourself to be match fit for the year. Okay. Then you've got spiritual. Now, spiritual, as I said before, might be a biblical, for argument's sake. It might be, if you're, Christian, or Sikh, or whatever it may be. If you've got a belief set around, religion, that you could use that for that, no problem whatsoever. If you haven't got that so much, then spiritual still means kind of mindset, being centered, being comfortable with your purpose, if you like. Also, how much do you work on calming your mind and looking after your mental health? So if you don't want to do spiritual for that, you could simply write mental health instead of spiritual. That's absolutely fine. And then give yourself a mark out of 1 to 10. 1 being I don't think about it at all. 10 being actually I do quite a lot on this subject. Jim again has put 7. Thank you for that, Jim. I am about a 5 at the moment, which you might think is a bit crazy coming from me with what I teach and so on and so on. But let me tell you, it's easy to teach than do. Okay? And so sometimes I do these sessions and kind of think, you're not really having, that's a good point there, John. You didn't really apply that to yourself last week, did you? So everybody can learn, and I'm, opening myself honest and opening myself bare to you here, that actually sometimes we don't think about this. We do for other people. And if you came on this morning session, you'll have 20 ways where you can go and help other people and 10 scientific reasons of why it's useful for you. But the key thing is how much time are you spending on your mental health? Yeah. And when it comes to mental health, it's not, it's not this old-fashioned, taboo subject. This is about how well are you talking to yourself? How often are you calming your mind? How often are you resetting yourself? And so on and so on and so on and so on. Okay? So write down spiritual or mental health, number 1 to 10. Okay? Then finally, relationships. Okay? How are your current relationships? Okay? How are your current relationships? Are they good? Are they not so good? This could mean your loving relationships, your work relationships, whatever it may be. Okay? I'm about an 8 at the moment on my relationships. All my relationships with my family are all good, my friends and colleagues and all that type of stuff. But I can't see any of them. So that's waning a little bit for me. I haven't been with any of my family indoors since last March. So nearly 12 months. I have not been in the same room with any of my family, including at Christmas. So that started to wane on me a little bit from a relationship point of view. But give yourself a number. Write down relationships, 1 to 10. How's your relationships with other people? So what we've just done now is we've gone full circle around the wellness wheel. Okay? And as you can see on here, what I've done here, Jim, thank you again for your number. I appreciate that. What I've done in here is I've actually put points for my numbers, okay? And if you download this, you could do exactly the same. And then what you do is you link those points together via a line. And what it does is it gives you a spider graph. It gives you a, thank you for that number. It gives you a pictorial version of the numbers that you've just written down, okay? So another way of doing this, being as you don't have this in front of you guys, if you've just written this down, okay, is add up your numbers and see what you get out of 80. Okay? Now somebody out there could also calculate that quite quickly into a percentage if you like. So I think get your number, divide by 80 times 100, that should do it. And that will give you a percentage of how well you are on your wellness wheel. Okay? And obviously, if these all add up to 10, then there's 80 of them. So you get 80 points. So if you've got 40, if you've come out as 40, then you are 50% of where you would like to be in your wellness wheel, okay? And bearing in mind we want to be match fit. We want to be match fit for this year. We need to kind of, I would suggest we want to be, God, we need to be probably what? 70, 80%? Yeah, 70, 80% of that in order to at least have a chance of really being match fit. So maybe 7 or 8 out of 10 on average going around these things. So I know you haven't got this in front of you as in printed out, but you can get it. If you've just written the subject down and then a number, add those numbers up and see what you are out of 80. And then I think if you divide it by 80 times it by 100, you'll get a percentage. So what is your percent of wellness, if you like? If you're at 50% or 60% or 80%, whatever it may be, of wellness. The reason I like this is because it's quite pictorial. So if you imagine the best state you can be in, the best of your wellness wheel would actually look like a perfect octagon. So you would have a line crossing each of these areas and it would make a perfect octagon. As you can see from my spider graph is not a perfect octagon, is it? And it's certainly waning on some areas. So the biggest one straight away I can see on here is going to be nutrition and spiritual. So 2 key things that I'm not doing very well at the moment is I can get better food in me on a regular basis, and I can do some calming of the mind things, yeah, more often than I'm currently doing to make sure my mental well-being is in a better place. The thing with me, and this is not an excuse, this is the reason that I'm giving you, is these 2 get low when I get busy. And some of you might feel the same things sometimes. So this is all great when you're not busy, but when you get busy, some of these start to dip. And I'm a nightmare for it. Yesterday I went up until 6 o'clock and only had a little bit of porridge to eat because I was busy, and I didn't purposely not eat. I forgot to eat. Now I know some of you might be going, oh my God, are you having a laugh? I can't forget to eat. But I did. So of course by the time I got to 6 o'clock I felt dreadful because I hadn't really eaten anything during the day. Yeah. So these 2 things actually drop when I get busy, and we've been incredibly busy over the last 12 months. You know, we're changing ways that we do things and so on and so on and so on. So these are 2 areas. When I wrote this session for today, and I always write them quite close to when I'm doing them, so they're always kind of, you know, most current. So I think I wrote this on Sunday, 2 days ago. As soon as I wrote that and saw it, I made it. I've got my running stuff out. I haven't been yet, but I'm going. I've got my running stuff out so I could start to do a bit more physical exercise. I actually made sure, because I'm here till 9 o'clock tonight, because I'm running an evening session as well, that I've got lots of healthy things to eat today and drink. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure I have time for a walk around the car park, a little bit of mind drop in between the sessions when I'm running them. So straight away I've started picking up on maybe the 3 key things that is low on my wellness wheel, because if they're left unattended they will get lower, and of course then you're going to have big jagged edges to your spider graph, and that's going to show you there's a big dip in certain things. So I think there was a couple of people when they were giving their numbers, yeah, we got a couple of 4s in there, didn't we? Yeah, we got a couple of 4s. So now a 4 would be here. So that would be a kind of a low kind of point to then go, let's have a look at these things going forward. So I urge you to do this, guys. I really, really do. If you want to be match fit, okay, then you can do all the great things. You can set goals, you can do this, you can do that, you can come up with new ideas, you can help get through transition. But if you personally want to be match fit, you've got to look at these different areas of your life and be very honest with yourself and go, where am I with these? Now, sometimes I get the question asked, should we be 10 in everything? Well, ideally, yes. If we lived in an utopia world, You have 10 physical fitness, you'd be sleeping the best you could, you'd be doing a load of stuff that you like to do, emotionally you'd be strong and you'd feel great, you'd be eating everything perfectly with no bad stuff whatsoever. Your professional life would be singing and dancing and taking off and being promoted and everything else that's going on. Spiritually, you would be calm of mind, or if you had a religion, your religion would be absolutely fantastic. You'd be bought into it 100%. And all of your relationships in the world would be brilliant. In a utopia, ideally, we want 10 out of 10. We don't live in a utopia, which means this is a moving picture. This picture of black lines here for me is going to move. It's going to change, it's going to morph, which is why doing this little diagnostic of your wellness wheel every now and then is quite useful. So this morning I recommended once a quarter. Okay, once a quarter. So once every 3 months, get your wellness wheel out, have a look at where it's going, have a look at what's going on, and then take some appropriate action on the back of where you need to take action. And it could be that you're not that bothered about getting your nutrition to 10. You might be happy with your nutrition being a 7. Okay, no problem, it's your scale. No problem at all. There's no problem saying you've got to get to 10. It's just obviously the higher you are, the happier, the more well you are, which is why this is called the wellness wheel. In fact, I've called it the wellness audit, as you can see there. So I hope that helps everybody, guys, because this is something that you could just spend 5 minutes doing right now, or right after we finish the session. You know, Google the wellness wheel, download it and draw on it. Yeah, give yourself a number 1 to 10 and draw on it. And if that one looks a little bit too busy for you, there are other ones that are a bit clearer. I just particularly like this one because they've got the lines of 1 to 10 all the way up there. Okay, so once you've done the diagnostic and the audit, then you'll know what you need to work on in order to be match fit. And if I just come back a stage, once you know what to work on, then go back a bit more. Once you know what to work on, you can make sure you've got the right thinking and behavior in place for that thing you need to work on. You can then set yourself a goal and understand why it's important to you. But if you've done the wellness wheel properly, you'll already know why that goal is important to you. Then you can come up with some ideas and plans on how you can achieve that goal. Then you can take action on those plans and measure your success. And all of that means you will be taking responsibility for your match fitness, if you want to use those words. Okay, so just remember what I said again, and then I've got a couple of slides just to finish off with. Okay, so once you've done your wellness wheel audit, you know where you need to work, you know which areas of your life you want to do some work on. You can then have the right mindset and behavior in order to do that. You can set yourself some goals to change. So I've set myself a goal this week to run 3 times. Okay, just to go out for a run. I don't know how long yet, I don't know how far. It depends how quickly I get out of breath and so on and so on, because I haven't run for 10 years, but I'll give it a go. Okay, you can then set yourself a target for it. That will motivate you, but you'll already know why you're motivated if you've done your wellness audit. Then generate loads of ideas on how you can do those things. So I'm having to think, when can I go for a run? Because I've got the girls, I've got my daughters at the end of the week because it's half term. I like to, it's half term. They haven't even had a term, have they? Do you know what I mean? But it's half term anyway. Then you can plan for that. So when are you going to do the running, and so on and so on. What action can you take, and how can you measure that? So how can you tick the box when you've done it? And if you do all of those things, then it means you're going to take responsibility for your wellness wheel. Okay, so if you do your wellness audit, you could have 8 little goals if you wanted, 1 for each area, to then go and actually do something with, or just pick 1 or 2 areas like I have, which is nutrition and spiritual and physical exercise for me. Okay, so hopefully that's useful, and then just follow the solution focus system. These points: thinking and behavior, targets, motivation, ideas and generation, and action and measurement. Okay. So just a couple of slides to finish off with then on this session today. So 3 elements to being match fit. Okay. The first is challenge. Okay. View difficulty as challenges. So this fits into it. Actually, it's quite a nice one for resilience that we've just finished a row of for this. So view difficulty as a challenge. So when something is thrown up in front of us, how do we get over this? What's the challenge? And there is a sort of semantics in words here, but if you use the word challenge instead of difficult, it does do something different in the brain as well. It does do something different. Okay. Commitment. So be committed to your lives and their goals. Follow the solution focused success system, which is the SFSS here. Okay. Again, wellness audit. Do your wellness audit and then commit to making those areas of your life better, quicker, faster, more productive, happier, whatever it may be that you want it to be. Personal control. Okay, spend time and energy focusing on situations and events that you have control over. So in other words, the wellness wheel, you have control over it. It's your wellness wheel. You don't have control over COVID at the moment. So if you remember on my relationships, I put an 8. And I put an 8 because everything that I am in control of with my relationships, I am doing to the best of my ability at the moment. I'm speaking to my family regularly, I'm speaking to my friends, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and all this type of stuff. What I can't control is the last 2, I think, in my opinion, which means I can physically go and see people and have conversations with people and so on and so on. So the wellness wheel you are in control of, but the external environment might have some forces on it. So just bear that in mind and control what you can control. Okay? Okay. Permanence. People who are optimistic see the effects of bad events as temporary rather than permanent. So this is what I'm talking about. Things are always temporary. Okay, when somebody is going through a tough time, it's very easy for them to assume this is going to go on forever. Things are temporary. Okay, in the big scale of things, if we come out of lockdown this time and there's not another one, okay, we may look back on this 40 years from now and kind of go, God, can you remember that year? Can you remember that year and a half that we had? Yeah, but in the big scheme of things, it's only quite small compared to a lifespan of 80 years, isn't it? Yeah? But we don't feel that when we're in it. We feel like it's going on forever. Feel like can't get out of it. Yeah, sick of doing it and so on and so on. So just think things are temporary and will change. As, one of my newfound heroes, Captain Tom, as I'm sure that it is for a lot of people, I've ordered his book and I'm reading it. I've got a picture that I've commissioned. A sketch artist has done me a picture that I'm going to put up in the office. As he likes to say, is tomorrow will be a better day. Yeah, so just don't think things are permanent. Things are temporary for the moment. That might help you as well. Persuasiveness. Don't let setbacks or bad events affect other unrelated areas of your life. Keep it to a segment keep it to a segment on, I don't know why I've put WW there, that's really bad. I should remember why I've wrote WW. I remember writing WW on there. Keep it to a segment on the wide world, maybe. I think that's it, on the wild world. So what that means is, when something goes pear-shaped, just put it in its pigeon box where it should be. Don't assume everything else. It's very, very easy for humans. Something goes pear-shaped during the day and then everything goes pear-shaped during the day. Okay, so if something goes wrong, just box it in. It's okay, that's gone wrong. The rest of this stuff is going right. So you just got to remember that. Okay, it's not going to affect other stuff as well. Keep it to a segment. I think that should say in the wide world. That's what's thrown me there, yeah? Keep it to a segment in the wide world. So if something goes wrong, just segment it off. That's gone wrong. It doesn't mean everything else has gone wrong at the same time. And then personalisation. Don't blame yourself when bad things occur. And as you can see here, stuff happens. So I'm not going to say that. Sometimes bad stuff just happens. It doesn't mean it's your fault. It doesn't mean it's all down to you. Could you do more about it? Possibly. If you look at your wellness audit, there's more stuff that you would be able to do. Then yes, but don't blame yourself for it. There is just no point whatsoever in order to do that. Okay? So, where possible, use the success system. So, a few little steps for you just to finish off. So, we'll get done a couple of minutes early today. Number one, do a wellness audit. Okay, do a wellness audit and find out where you can do some work in order to make sure you're mat fit for all those challenges that are going to be thrown at us this year. Okay, that's first step. Number two, follow the success system. Okay, which is get your thinking and behaviour right. Okay, so first step on the success system, get your thinking and behaviour right. Then have a target and understand your motivation towards that target. Then generate some ideas and plans. Then take action on the plan and measure. And by doing so, you will be taking personal responsibility for that thing. So one more time, do your wellness audit, find out where you need to work, then get your thinking and behaviour right, then set a target and understand your motivation, then generate ideas and plans to achieve your target, then take some action and measure your success. And by doing so, you have taken personal responsibility for your match fitness for 2021. So guys, I hope that was useful. We finished a little bit early on that session today because I didn't want to cram anything else into that. You've got 5 minutes left now before you would normally be not listening to me. So I urge you, if you haven't done so already, spend the next 5 minutes finding the wellness wheel, download it, and draw yourself a picture graph. If that's all you do in the next 5 minutes, that's fine, but go and do that. And then tonight, when you're at home, cup of coffee, glass of wine, whatever, get it back out, and then start putting some plans in place to change it if you choose to.